And with that, I have the great pleasure to announce our very final speaker, who is going to take us home with a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm, I hear. I had a lovely chat with Mellisa leading up to this, and I'm really excited for you to hear her presentation. And I'd like to welcome her now. Melissa's focus will be on finding your lived experience expertise. So we've had this even just now talking about this analogy of the different kinds of ways to describe and articulate the difference between lived experience, living experience. When we learn from theoretical places as well as integrating that into expertise. So Mellisa started her lived experience career in 2014 as a consumer representative. Once referred to as a single childless 50-year-old woman, she embarked on a career with complex consumers that mirrored her own lived experience. Melissa's held several positions in the lived experience space, including peer worker, trainer, educator, and advocate. At the moment, Mellisa is a senior consumer peer worker at Alfred Hospital at St Kilda Rd Clinic, where she works with consumers sharing her lived experience around areas of life that they are facing or trying to navigate. Mellisa quickly understood the importance of working from multiple perspectives with consumers, developing a process of where lived experience workers can discover their expertise and really step into it. She says, being able to shed the shame that comes with our lived experience is a release that is worth waiting for. I love that. And she aims to support consumers and workers stepping into lived experience spaces to shed this for themselves. In 2021, Mellisa was selected by the Victorian government to promote the emerging lived experience workforce and is a public speaker in the lived experience space, including the national press conferences. I'd love to welcome Mellisa now. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm great, Ben. That was amazing. I sound fantastic. Thanks.
You do, you are. I'll leave you to do it. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. Thanks so much for waiting around for the end of the day. I do bring a bit of enthusiasm, so let's get ready to raise the vibration and learn some stuff. Today, I'm coming to you from the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people and from the East Kulin Nations, and they're actually part of the Boonwurrung language area. Today, I'm going to be speaking of the benefits of working from multiple perspectives of our lived experience, how to identify some of our lived experiences that we sometimes don't think that important or relevant to develop into areas of expertise to, use in our work. And then we're going to have a look at how I knew if I was ready to develop from certain areas of my lived experience and the pitfalls I experienced on the way, and there is a couple. We're going to touch a little on why, I guess, sharing with your multidisciplinary team and them having awareness of your lived experience of, areas of expertise can be really valuable. So we can invite them in today, to support consumers and us. And, I guess it just helps with stopping the gatekeeping for us that we experience in peer work when it comes to us working with consumers and working alongside our team members to, be able to say, hey, I've had that experience. I'd love to have a chat with your consumer. And finally, what we can put in place to make it safe for us and the consumer when working from the most sensitive parts of our lived experience expertise. Got to turn me pages. If we can go to the next slide, that'll be amazing. So look, let's have a quick reminder of what the definition of lived experience expertise is from the one and only Finding North, Hayley Harris.
Lived experience expertise. What is it and how does it differ to lived experience? Here's an analogy I like to use to explain lived experience expertise. My mum knows how to drive a car, right? She has the experience of 30 plus years of driving. But she doesn't necessarily have the expertise of knowing how to teach me how to drive a car. She has not developed those expertise to translate what she's doing and how it's working or what I need to consider when driving a car. I think of lived experience and lived experience expertise in a similar way. Many people may have lived experience, but not all know how to translate that experience into expertise. Put simply, Lived experience expertise is the ability to use one's lived experience with intention and having the practical skills, knowledge, values, and awareness of how to apply lived experience expertly in a professional role.
I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. So that's why I really asked Hayley if we could use that video, because it just says it absolutely perfectly. So when we're identifying areas of our lived experience expertise to develop into expertise, I thought to myself, well, yeah, I've lived with mental illness. I've lived with complex mental illness. But what else is there that may be actually really useful for our consumers, right? So I did something really easy, which was making a timeline of my life events to uncover areas that I could utilize to develop into lived experience expertise. So what we're going to do now is a really simple thing, and we're going to go to the Mentimeter and we're going to see what areas off the top of your head can you think of that you are going to consider developing into expertise. Now, there should be a Mentimeter scan on, like, little QR code asking a few things, and we're going to see what is up there. I'll just do a little bit of swaying to help us through it. I really was excited to be delivering this at the end of the day. I felt like the major tech house DJ that would be coming on at the end. And here we go, childhood experiences, yes. Language normalization, that is a really good one. Carer, yes. AOD stuff, family experiences. This is good, people. Keep them coming. Storytelling, yes. Telling our story safely. Domestic violence is a huge one. Such a shared experience with most of our consumers. Yes. Introspection, cracker. That's a great one. Self-awareness, yes. Oh, breast cancer, big love to you. Absolutely. Transgender, perfect. Abuse, yes. Navigating the system, absolutely. Oh, these are so, so good. So, so good. Homophobia, yes. My God. Loneliness, yes. Experience of medication. You guys are fantastic. Oh, there is so much of self-love. Oh, this is so good, and it's exactly what we're neurodivergence, or divergent, as I like to call myself from the movie. Maintaining hope, autism. Oh my good, yes, misdiagnosis. Thank you for saying that one. Thank you. Intersectionality, identities. Oh, you guys are just absolutely knocking this out of the park. That is fantastic. Look, when I came up with my list, it ran a little bit like this, and I think some of these. I've just seen BPD marginalised. Well done for you. Excellent, because everyone gets a really crappy name, and we need to change that for that. Big love to you again. Look, mine was, really similar. And I think the list I came up with was something like this that you can see on the screen. It's a really long list. What's missing from that list is being on a Webster pack. Having holes in my CV that I cannot explain when I go for jobs. Going to, CES or Centrelink it's called now, and, not being, serviced or, being helped. All of these different things are what we want you to consider developing your expertise around, because they are so helpful for our consumers to hear that they are also having those experiences, and that someone can connect with them and maybe even be able to help them navigate that system. The list goes on to my next page. So what I want you to do now, okay, is, listen to me, and I've just missed my place. I apologize for that. We want to have a look at, are we ready now to actually work from those perspectives, okay? How did I know? I didn't. I just started, and it was a really big journey, because some of that I wasn't ready to discuss yet. I didn't, sort of feel I had the ability to say to consumers, hey, I'm actually not used to working from this area of my lived experience. I'm not an expert in it, and this could go really pear-shaped, And I really didn't know at some points if I'd done the work that I needed to do on myself to be comfortable to discuss. You know, I didn't learn early on that I needed to ask permission, you know, if they were happy to hear my lived experience around this, because it could be triggering for them. Yeah. And I guess, you know, I didn't know that I should be putting things in place to protect myself and the consumer from further harm when we got into it. Yeah. I guess the other thing that we have to consider is, you know, when we're wanting to share, we get caught up in like, geez, I want to be a great consumer worker or a carer worker. I want to tell them what happened to my family and what happened to me as a carer or as a consumer. And we just don't really think about whether it's beneficial to the consumer. So with that, we're going to have a little look at this. This next video is where my expertise was not developed. So let's have a look at this video.
So how did you go at your consultant review today?
To be honest, I don't think I have mental illness. I honestly think it was the way I was raised. It was a really rough environment and it was really tough. It was really tough.
I feel exactly the same. I was raised in like domestic violence, a whole lot. It was so shitty, violent, everything else. Like I didn't know what was going on for me either.
So I'm actually really glad that I cut that off at 30 seconds, because it's basically just someone banging on about the stuff that went on for them rather than actually considering what that consumer had just said to me. And this was stuff that I did a lot initially because I was like, oh, me too, you know? So let's have a look at, you know, why it was such a bad result. Clearly, I just was not ready. I was still feeling far too much to work from that lived experience perspective. The delivery was not acceptable for, I guess, a professional therapeutic setting, lived experience or otherwise. And sharing was more for myself than the consumer's benefit. And that was something that I really had to grasp with. And I think when we think about that one point, if it becomes too much for us, then we've probably got a little bit more work to become comfortable with that part of our lived experience. And there was just no supports for myself or the consumer. Nothing was set up to support us, you know, possibly sharing some sensitive stuff. So I'm going to say, let's have a look at it done a little bit better this time.
How did you go at your consultant review today?
To be honest, I honestly don't think I have mental illness. I feel it was the way I was raised. I was raised in a really rough environment and it was really tough, mate. It was really tough.
This is, again, something that I'm always amazed about. Like, there's so many shared experiences between consumers and workers, you know. It just sounds really traumatic. Yeah. And we do end up with different things from that. If you ever want to talk to me about that trauma and stuff that's gone on, please let me know. I like to share back with you, obviously, first, second, however you prefer, but I like to leave a little bit more time for us to discuss that stuff because it's usually pretty heavy going, you know, and it usually gets me a little bit more riled up than what I think it does still to this day. So I'm expecting the same might happen to you. I also really do like to tell, the case manager and the rest of the multidisciplinary team in case they want to be there for us, because a few times when I have done this with consumers, I haven't let them know and I've been walking around going like this, you know, and it's nice for them. They don't know the details, but just for us to know that we're going to spend some time together and talk about some heavier stuff and they can be there for us after we've done, you know, and support us. Does that sound like something that we could do that would make it a bit better?
I might think about it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. That's all we want you to do, just think about it.
All right.
Now let's just give kudos to my neighbour Tash, who did the acting in those videos when I said, I need some help to create a really good example of what I'm going to be delivering. And I can't thank her enough. And I think that when we look at the two different videos, we can see there's a different delivery to what we're trying to, I guess, convey to the consumer. And a lot of things have been touched on that are really respectful to the consumer. And you'll notice at the end, it's not about the consumer going, yeah, I'm absolutely ready to do this. It's about them having choices and know that there's options. And just know it can take 6 to 2 years, like 6 months to 2 years for some of this stuff and longer to come out. I have wasted long amounts of times with workers and peer workers in my day, but, you know, we cannot expect to establish trust and to just be given that privilege straight up. It's something that, you know, I as a consumer need to take time with and need to check it out. And I give the same respect to my consumers I'm working with. So why was that a little bit more successful, or maybe a lot more successful? You're the judge, not me. Well, the shared experience was acknowledged. So we said, hey, I've got a similar thing that's gone on for me too. Permission to share was established. So, you know, please don't take a consumer there if they're not ready, okay? The sensitivity of the subject was flagged and more time was suggested for each to share mutually. It's disclosed that the, you know, multidisciplinary team or your lived experience workforce, you know, could be notified so that we could, you know, have more support around that sharing if they would like to share around that, you know, then or in the future. And the consumer is advised that those supports can be put in place so that, you know, should we need them, that they can actually take those up. And that could be, you know, psychology if your service offers it, their case manager if they'd like them to know. But also for some of us, PRN if we need it. Some of this stuff can knock you around. And just remember what PRN stands for from a consumer perspective, probably really needed. I'll leave that one with you. So, look, I think those are the things that we're wanting to talk to you about today and for you to consider when you're sharing those big things as safety for yourself and safety for the consumer. And it doesn't have to happen then and there. It can happen, you know, at the rate of which the consumer needs it to happen and at their own pace, which is exactly how we like all of that stuff to, you know, go ahead. We are the drivers. We are the makers. We are the movers. I could say we are the shakers, but that sounds a bit silly. So what are the benefits of developing our lived experience and working from multiple perspectives with our consumers? And it's really, really easy. It is not rocket science. It is celebrating sameness. And I saw that somebody popped in the chat about reducing stigma, because it does reduce stigma to know that we are not the only one experiencing these issues. I didn't find out until I was maybe 15, 16 that some of the stuff that had gone on in my early childhood had been experienced by other people in my age cohort. And even then, it was so different to what they'd gone on, like what had gone on for them. But it made me feel a little less normal, if you can say that, but a lot less out there. And I think celebrating our sameness, reducing stigma are huge parts of what we do. The more lived experience we can convert into expertise and be able to deliver really, really well and safely, the more we are ready to support consumers on multiple, you know, issues they are experiencing, to stop stigma, you know, to make people feel less alone and to feel like they're being heard, and that there are other people who have come through at the other end and are living and really thriving in life. And we will also continue to hear, I've got more out of working with you than any other person I've worked with. Send your reactions now, kids, because that is the biggest thing that I love hearing. You know, our workers, our clinicians, they do a great job. I work with some really amazing people. But I do love hearing, you know, when our workers come back and say, hey, they just said they've gotten more out of that whole session I just had with them than anybody else. Because that's because we are transformational with what we do. Sharing this in a really safe way is, I think, the biggest thing that we can give consumers. We're a bit of a gift, I feel. So we're nearly there, my peelings, okay? But that means it's Menti Beta time, okay, again. And I'm really wanting to hear, after that little brief segment, what you're thinking now you could change into, you know, or develop, or you may be feeling you've got the bravery to, you know, transform into your lived experience expertise now that you're aware of some of the stuff that you could be doing. We're gonna give you the Mentimeter music. I've been talking about this with my workplace for the last couple of weeks and how excited I've been to bring this all to you. Yeah. And it's just been such an exciting thing. So, what areas of your lived experience that you didn't consider to develop into expertise are you now aware of, or thinking you've got the bravery to start talking about how can I turn this into, my bread and butter with consumers? And I love it when it's waiting for responses, because sometimes it doesn't even register them, let's face it. Yes, advocacy. Yes. Not just advocacy for in the whole, but teaching consumers how to advocate for themselves and telling them how much of a grind it is and how you have to keep going back and back and back to advocate for yourself. Some of this stuff that when I, walk with consumers alongside with their advocacy is that from my perspective, it is just going. We ask you to grind at the hardest time and to keep saying the same thing and delivering the same stuff. And it's a really it's a big journey. It's a grind. Oh, this is lovely. Criminal history. Yes, go you. I'm an ex-drug dealer, right? I talk about it all the time. It has a huge impact on what I do and who I work with. And it's just been an amazing thing. Please step into it. Being vulnerable. Yes. The power of awareness. Oh, therapy fatigue. Fuck yeah. Yes. I apologize. Yes, absolutely. Shame around vices. Yep. Self-compassion. Housing. Yes. Sex work. Yes, absolutely. Which is a totally legitimate job, can I just say? And Red over at BHN do a great job to support sex workers. Exclusion, self-compassion, understanding differences, yes. Working in partnership. This is unbelievable. Involuntary treatment, yes, absolutely. Oh, this is so good. How hard daily, yes. Activities of daily living, haven't even nailed mine yet. So let's have conversations and develop expertise around how hard they are to master. Distress, leadership. Absolutely. Repeated hospitalization. Big love to you. Big love to you. Normalizing despair. Yes. And, and being okay to normalize it. So big love to you as well. Oh, this is so, so good. This is so good. Wow. There's more. I'm having trouble reading with my glasses on. Oh, self-determination, toxic living situations. Yes, absolutely. Internalized ableism. Yes. Wow. Oh, sex trafficked. Again, more love to you. My God. This is so brave and so exciting to see. Congratulations, everyone. You absolutely knocked it out of the park. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. So now that we've looked at that, we better move on. I just want waiting to make sure that nobody else is, doing anything else. That is huge. That is huge. Financial stress. I just want to say that because we don't touch on that enough, but it's hard going from Centrelink to a pension finally if you do get it, and then having to live off it is not actually something that most of us can do. So we're at the end of everything. I'm pretty excited about it, but I just want to say, what we do as consumer and carer peer workers is nothing short of phenomenal. We come to work, we talk about our stuff all the time, and we really don't have enough acknowledged. I've just found I'm running out of battery. I'm so sorry. I don't know how that's happened. Bear with me. And we don't get acknowledged for the emotional load that actually puts on us. I'm so sorry. I apologize for that. Keep grinding, keep working hard, keep sharing with your consumers what's gone on for you, and keep telling them that they're not alone, they're not the only ones. And I can guarantee that the stigma and the shame will be dropped off and it will release. Thanks, everyone, for attending. Sorry about all my tech stuff.
Please don't apologise. I think you've got everyone right wrapped around your finger with engagement.
I couldn't even see all the love hearts. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, look at them go. Look at them fly up
That
there.
is beautiful. Yeah.
Something I just want to touch on very quickly. You said that
A
you
swear
used the
word?
word transformational.
Yeah.
And I think that is, fundamental. It's something that, like, when you consider the power of lived experience, the whole essence, the lifeblood of what this whole event is about, is to, when you see the outcomes, when you're chatting with consumers, when you're, like Kayla was talking about, being in positions of governance and oversight, it's like it's almost like the radically transformational capacity of that shared connection of experience is, like, not only it can't be understated. It's literally the future, like, because it's sort of redirecting us back to our commonality of being human, right? And it's like, forget the titles, forget the structures, the paradigms, the everything that already exists. It's like all of that seems to sort of fade away once you just sort of put two humans in the pocket together. And even if you're vastly different, it can radically and transformatively bring you onto this mutuality, common ground, healing, all of this stuff. It's just so exciting.
It just gives you the warm fuzzies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In all the right spots. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I found that the people that have felt, perhaps, and this is not my judgment, it's only perhaps an analysis that maybe people might be able to understand, if those that might present as cold or unfeeling, or they don't understand, genuinely, they have often their own powerful lived experiences that haven't sort of come to the light, right?
Yeah. And I think peeling back the layers and allowing that to happen, is part of the privilege, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Sharing with people, hey, I've got lived experience around this, but if you'd like to discuss that, and when you're ready to, we're going to make it as safe as possible for that to happen. And being able to convey that to our broader, like, clinical team. I never used to say, my expertise in this area. I say my special interests are, meth users.
Yeah.
Because I was one, dual diagnosis. You guys call it dual diagnosis, challenges to my reality, things like that. However you decide it's good for you, scripts and dialogues, you develop regular ways of saying things and sharing those things with your broader team and consumers. And I guarantee once you start mentioning it, they're going to go, hey, I heard you might have had a little bit of experience there. I've got a consumer you might want to work with. Yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful stuff.
Isn't it?
Shed the stigma, shed the shame, and let's just release everything, babies.
Love it. Yeah, that analogy of the shedding of skins and the transformative nature of, say, how a snake sheds their skin, as an example. It's
hello, ADHD person. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge that.
Yeah. So I've got a question here. What do we do? What do we do? Just maybe a little typo. When we realize we've previously overshared with the consumer, what should we do?
Yeah, look, I can only tell you what my experience is with that. And I just went back to that consumer and said, hey, would you be good if we just wound it back to the last session that we had? I owned the fact that I was not, an expert in sharing that stuff. I also owned the fact that it was probably the second or third time that I'd done it. And I just am still working through this. And thanks for being there with me. And if you've got any feedback about how that landed, please tell me. And look, the consumer actually said to me, that is the fastest conversation I've ever had around the times I've had attempts on my life. And you just absolutely got what I was doing. So whilst I wanted to check, it actually landed really well. But, I was actually able to see that consumer about 6 months later at another, instance. And they were like, you've gotten so good at this. And I thought that was just really, really nice. So just own it. Just own your stuff, and work through it again. I think if there's anyone we can be authentic with and ourselves and really, really transparent with, it's our consumers. It's one of the privileges we get.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with just excuse my language, everybody, but owning your shit. Like, if you do something, it's without explaining away why you did what you did and how or perhaps analyzing how they might perceive what we had said, or and just to own it and just say, you know what, can I just double back there? And I know that in providing support, close support with people acutely suicidal, all the way to people who are just having a bad day, I've definitely been like, oh, I've got value to add here, and I've jumped in to share my lived experience, and then quite quickly realized that they felt a little disconnected, or there's been a dynamic shift, and then I've had to quite quickly say, can I double back there? I realize what I've done. And if you'll forgive me, and most people are very forgiving if you take that ownership quickly, right?
Oh, absolutely. And look, even just going back to the basic principles of our framework, if you're working from intentional peer support, it's just that connection. It's like being hung up on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I heard the engaged signal. I'm just going to wind that back. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the text afterwards and say, I really didn't mean to hang up on you there. I was a bit quick in the thing. I didn't mean to hang up on you. Even that can just allow people to just take a breath. So we've probably got time for one quick question. Is it important that you have the same experience as your consumer to be helpful? In my workplace, we don't match based on our lived experiences.
Yeah, this comes up all the time, right? Look, whilst I understand the beauty of having, a similar shared experience, I really feel like, and I have lots of non-shared experiences with consumers I work with. For instance, I do not hear voices. Okay. I'll use that one as a big one. Okay. And one of the things I've learned is I just own it. Wow. I've not experienced that. I would love to hear what actually goes on. Are they there now? Is it okay if I ask you questions? Being curious is what it's all about. If they in turn want to talk to somebody and you can set that up, and you've got that I guess those options in your connection or in your circle of peer workers or lived experience workforce, or even outside of that, whether it be support groups or whatever, then that's how I would tell you how to navigate it. But you know what? Just really supporting someone when they know that you haven't had that and you're just being upfront about it, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And interestingly, sometimes it's like the shared experience can be ultra powerful, and then sometimes the really open curiosity when you have zero experience is also to great benefit, because they're like blank slate here. I get the opportunity to do this from fresh again with someone new.
Then I want to add on to that, the other thing that we forget about most of the time here is the broad body of information, what we call consumer perspective. A lot of our cadets come to us saying, like, I don't have that, But you give it 12 months, 18 months, you'll have worked with multiple consumers with those issues. And you better go, I haven't, but I've actually worked with a few. And this is what they found. Is that what's going on? So don't forget about that, knowledge that you gain as you're going on. We don't expect you to go into somewhere and know everything, but we ask you to go in and listen and connect with consumers, so you can take that knowledge and share with others as you move through your career.
Beautiful. And look, there's actually the questions are now pouring in. Yet we have to wrap it up for time. Can I ask you one last thing? How can people get in touch with you?
I reckon we're just going to have to go info@Finding North, and more than happy to make contact through that way. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Janine's just chucked that in the chat. So anyone who's interested in connecting with Mellisa, findingnorthnetwork.com.au is the best way to do that. Thank you so much. You exceeded all expectation, I believe. Can we throw some reacts Melissa's way, please? Just for bringing it home.
I even tried to practice my soft face instead of my... Doesn't work. I think
between your energy and the mentee and stuff, it was just an amazing way to close it out. And I'll have some closing remarks now, but otherwise, Mellisa, thank you so much.
Thanks for the fan club. See that? Yeah. Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks for watching Explore More Perspectives 2024 on Finding North Network's YouTube channel. Find out more by visiting findingnorthnetwork.com.au or email info@findingnorthnetwork.com.au.